Hey guys, I'm Michael Symon here, bringing you a little holiday cheer. So one of the things that was always on the table when I was a kid, when we celebrated Christmas at my mom and dad's house, was my mom always had spanakopita. And it was, when you arrived, it was sitting out, you could get it at room temperature, sometimes it would be warm, you know, and it's one of my favorite things. It's a kind of a classic Greek meze starter, finger food kind of dish. You could make them larger, you could make them smaller, you could really mix it up. Once you're comfortable working with phyllo, the dish comes together very easy, and I'll show you some phyllo tricks as we go here. Couple things that I have. I have some cooked spinach back here. I just cooked it, sauteed it in a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm going to wring out some extra liquid. You could certainly use frozen spinach, but you're going to have to wring out all that extra liquid. Also, we have feta cheese, scallion, garlic, pine nuts, flat leaf parsley, dill, a little bit of nutmeg, and egg. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to toast my pine nuts. So I'm going to go over medium-high heat right here. And we're going to put a little bit of olive oil into the pan. And then we're going to add the pine nuts to that. And we're just going to toast them, get a little bit of color, a little bit of flavor, bring out their nuttiness, help release their natural oils, kind of bring them alive a bit. So these are just going to go in the pan. I like to do it in a pan with a little bit of oil just because it adds a touch more flavor and it's easier. If they're in a dry pan, sometimes you get a side that's burnt or over crisps, but when they're in the fat, they move around a little bit more. So we just kind of keep an eye on those as that's happening. This will only take about a minute or so. So as that is happening, I need to get any additional liquid out of my spinach. You can see I put it in a strainer after I sauteed it and all that liquid that came out. And you can either go with the full wring out method where you could put it in a towel and you could twist it, or you could just, in a colander, if you just take your hand and press it and squeeze out any of that excess liquid that is left, just to get it all out of there, because we want this to really have full spinach flavor. We don't want it to get watered down. And, you know, kind of the enemy of phyllo dough is water. So we don't want this to be wet. We want to get out as much of that as we can. And again, if it feels very moist to you still, go with the towel, wring it out completely in the towel, and then you're good to go there. So I'm going to actually put this. This isn't a fancy kitchen towel. This is one of my cooking kitchen towels, so I don't get in trouble with the boss.
You don't want that.
No, we don't want that. Lizzie doesn't get mad at me for much, but ruining good kitchen towels, she will get mad at me.
Yeah.
So like with this method, you would just put it in a kitchen towel. You could also do this in cheesecloth if you don't have, like, you know, towels that you cook with. And you give it a ring this way and you can see
yeah, there's still a lot
coming out there. There's still a lot of liquid in there. So, you know, especially if you're doing frozen spinach, or if the spinach sits for a little bit longer, there's going to be a good amount of moisture in that spinach. All right, our nuts are starting to toast. See how they're getting, Alexa, see how they're getting some nice color on there?
Yeah.
And could you smell? Smell what's happening?
They smell very nice. Like,
yeah, so
like
they're coming alive now. And it's just bringing out the flavor. We're going to add, I have 2 cloves of minced garlic. We're going to add those to the party.
It's a real party when the garlic's involved.
Yep. We're going to put in some scallions.
Scallions or green onions? What do you...
They're the same.
I know, but what do you call them, scallions?
I say scallions because I say it funny, so I just like to say scallions.
The Midwesterns.
Scallions.
Take the boy out of Midwest, can't take the Midwest out of the boy.
And then we're going to take our ring of spinach. We're going to put it in this mixing bowl. We're going to top it with our pine nut.
Look at that. That's so pretty.
Scallion garlic mixture. And this just gives it some really nice texture. Spanakopita, like, just it's basically means spinach pie. My mom always put feta in hers. She always put a good amount of fresh dill, some chopped fresh parsley. And this just kind of really brightens them up. A little bit of nutmeg.
If you wanted them spicy, could you put some pepper in there?
Chili flake in, yeah, for sure. That would be a nice addition. My mom and Dad do not like spicy food. I love spicy food. Kyle loves spicy food. Liz likes spicy food. So when my mom makes them, chili flakes are not an option. Like her and my father's spice meter's like 1. Like if I put too much black pepper in something, they're like, oh, it's so spicy. So the feta goes in, and then we are just going to crack 1 whole egg in here that is going to work as a binder. Now, again, this is my mom's recipe, and this is how I grew up learning how to make it. You know, whenever I make kind of a traditional Greek recipe, you know, everybody will always say like, well, my yaya or my mom, or I like to, like, things change based on families or regions that maybe your family grew up in Greece. They all make them a little bit different. Like spanakopita in some regions of Greece are spinach only, 0 cheese. Some places have the feta in it. Some parts of Greece, or taropita is the cheese version, no spinach, but some people in some parts of Greece they'll call it spanakopita and it'll be only cheese. So it just depends what region that your family is from, or any alterations your yaya made when she came to America. So this is my family's version. So if your yaya made it different, I'm cool with that too. Maybe you want to try something a little different. You can have it this way.
All yayas welcome.
Yep. All yaya's opinions welcome. And we just mix this up real thoroughly so it's nice and even. Just
Very
like
nice.
that. Now we're going to start forming our spanakopita. And I'm going to make slightly larger ones today. My mom makes them because it's like a finger food. I'm going to have these for like a lunch today, so I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger. My mom makes them as like a finger food, so they're very small, like a 2 or 3 bite situation. So you could alter the size of these very easily just by how big you cut your phyllo or how big you let your phyllo get. Let me take some melted butter here. So we just have whole butter that we just melted.
Okay.
And a lot of butter. This is the one thing that I learned from my mom is if you cheat on the butter, or you try to do it with less butter, or you choose not to butter in between every layer, your spanakopita is not going to be delicious. Those great flaky, crunchy, wonderful textures we get are because we weren't shy with the butter. The phyllo dough, get it fresh if you can. If you have frozen, you're going to thaw it ahead of time. And remember, phyllo itself is inexpensive, so no big deal there. If you lose a piece or 2, don't panic. And what we're going to do is you want to keep your phyllo covered with either plastic wrap or a towel as you're going, especially if this is your first time working for phyllo, because it dries out very quickly. Okay. So
would you maybe like get a damp towel and leave it
you
over,
could put,
or
yeah,
it
but
doesn't
then
matter?
if you get it too damp, this is going to start getting harder to work with. So I'm going to take a piece of phyllo. I'm going to put it down. We're going to butter this first piece all the way across. Just kind of lightly going over it with butter.
Does it have to be like really precise the way you butter it, or can
No,
you be like?
no, you don't. You don't want to go too hard, or you'll tear your phyllo. And I go right on top of it with another piece. Now I'm going to take this towel and cover. All right, and we're going to brush here. So I'm just going side to side, not too hard. You know, you don't want to soak it, but you want to try to get everything coated. And because we butter at every level, eventually everything's going to be coated very nicely in butter. So you'll see. So we put down a piece, buttered it, put down another piece, butter it. Now we're going to fold. And once we fold, we butter again.
So you only use 2 sheets of phyllo dough?
2 sheets, but we're doing a fold, so there's like 4 full layers here.
Okay.
And they're all buttered. Now, this would be a large one. If I wanted to make this smaller, I could then cut this down the middle and go. But I want to get those 4 layers built up.
But the technique would be the same even if you cut it?
Technique is exactly the same. Then because I'm having this as like a meal, lunch, I want mine to be a little bit on the larger side. And now all we're doing is we're going corner to corner to corner, but we're gonna butter each time. So I'm going to the top corner here to form a triangle. Now we butter. And then we go straight up, triangle, butter. One more time.
So satisfying to watch.
Right?
Yes.
Butter.
I had a roommate up in Boston who was 100% Greek, and she made spanakopita a few times for me, and it was great.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. It's just such a humble, simple dish. Doesn't cost you a lot to make. You got to learn this little technique. And once you learn the technique with the phyllo, you know, you could stuff anything in here you want, really. And, you know, once you learn the technique of how to butter and fold. I go that last fold. Now, at this point, I have a little overhang there, and I'm OCD, as is my mom. So we're just gonna cut that off so it's nice and smooth. And it goes seam side down right on the pan.
All right.
All right. And now I'm just gonna keep rolling, Alexa.
All right, sounds good to me.
All right. The last one, we got six, 6 like big lunch versions, spanakopitas out of this. If you were making the smaller ones, you would get, obviously if we got 6, the method I show you how you could split it, you get 12. And that's a good amount. Last fold. Again, this one, the first and the last one with the overhang. So just cut off that little overhang. Something on the OCD side. This one goes right here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Make some room for me. All right. And then I'm going to put these in the oven. We're going to bake them at like 400, 425 degrees till they're like super golden brown, which is going to take anywhere from 12 to 16 minutes.
Okay, and you don't have to flip them or anything,
You
right?
don't have to flip them.
Okay.
So we're just going to check them at 12, see where they are, and then go from there. When they're golden, take them out, and you could serve them hot, cool, or room temperature. So I'm going to get these cooking, and when they're done, we will eat.
All right. Looking forward to it.
These have been in for 13 minutes. They are golden brown. I did rotate them once at about the halfway point. You know, everyone's oven's different. If you have a convection setting on your oven, not a bad thing to do. Then you don't really have to worry about rotating it because the convection is rotating the air for you. But these are nice and golden brown and
Look at those.
delicious. And again, I did the larger version because this is a lunch situation for me. Classically, my mom made them much smaller than this so people come in and finger food them. Also, when my mom served them, she never served them hot. You hear Normie in the background just chirping away. He loves spanakopita too. My mom would bake them, lay them all out. They would cool, and they were at room temp. And then when people came over, they would just eat them. So you could serve these. They're delicious, hot or room temp. You could see, because we didn't miss a crevice with the butter, how golden this is all the way around, on the sides, underneath, everywhere. And I also want you to listen as I'm going to do this with a knife just so you could. And that's what you want. You want that like super crunch, steam pouring out of there. I mean, it's insanely hot right now. The feta has melted. The phyllo is baked all the way through. It's super crunchy. It's very hot, but I'm fearless. Typically, I would let this cool for minimally 4 or 5 minutes, but I'm going for it.
Good luck.
So here's what I love, and it's really what I learned from my mom when I made these. Don't be afraid of the butter. That's what gives you all those beautiful, flaky, super crunchy layers. The addition of the dill and the parsley just brightens the whole thing up. You get kind of undertones of the garlic in there, and then you get that extra texture from the pine nuts. I know there's a lot of yayas out there. I know you all make great spanakopita, but no one makes it as good as Angel. Just a fact. Have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, everybody. Be good. I'm having lunch.